So recently, I set out to find some of the wildest Undertale fan games that I possibly could. And to be fair, we've mostly succeeded. But during this crazy romp through a bunch of video games made by an army of 14-year-olds that are scarily obsessed with the skeleton wearing shorts, we managed to find something really good. A diamond in the rough, you might say. You see, between dating games and some crazy flipping bird, we managed to find ourselves a hidden gem. A diamond in the rough that I would be remiss if I wasn't able to bring to the spotlight. Behold, the mighty Clicker-Tail, come up and take your prize. You see, this game is pretty much just a clicker game. It's what you expect with something like Cookie Clicker, except instead of clicking some food that's going to give you diabetes down the line, this is clicking your favorite Undertale character. You see, it's very different, very different, but it actually is, and I'm going to prove it to you today. So, if you're a big fan of Undertale content, I recommend you buckle in, get some food, maybe hit that like, comment, and subscribe while you're at it. It really helps out the channel. And let me immerse you in the deep story of Clicker-Tail. You can go and actually see the proper lore up here if you want to follow along with the videos and get caught up. But I understand that attention spans are quite low nowadays, so let me give you a quick little run by. These four guys here, they're like Coraline, they got their soul stolen by who? That's right, it's Gasta, not the Gasta that you know, sorry. Who is Gasta? Oh my god, well, buddy, you need some filling in. Gasta is a fan-made Undertale character that I think is mentioned in the actual game himself. He's supposedly Sans and Papyrus' third secret lost long brother that seems so much like a fan insert that it actually hurts. I don't know very much about Gasta, but I find it even more hilarious that the way that they've altered him in this game is not that he's some kind of alternate form of himself or even just the main regular Gasta. He's just crying. Well. What are you doing here? Click Gasta. I should have fucking known. Why are you so low opacity, bro? That's the addition that they made for him. He's just a sad man. A sad man who has been dealt a poor hand in life. But don't worry about him, because he has been very evil, and he's trapped all of our beloved souls within tears? I guess he's made everyone cry, and now they fight against us as his puppets that he can use for his own whim. He also killed Toriel, which I mean, like, kinda based, but god, she is dead. Well, how am I supposed to unlock her in the shop now? Well, if that hasn't already made you want to watch more, then don't worry, because we've got 9 worlds. I think there's 9 worlds of this shit. I don't know. There is a giant, and I mean giant, map that you can explore in this game. It is so expansive, and there are so many different stages. Now, you may be wondering how the stages work. Well, basically, you get a bunch of Undertale enemies in one zone. They fire a bullet hell at you, and you have to click them until they go away. And when they go away, there's special little effects that they have. There's special type of bullet hell that they throw at the stage goes away with them. Some enemies just automatically, like, the time will tick down, and you just have to deal with them. I found that this only really happens with bosses though, and only specific bosses, but it works, and I think you just have to watch the video and you'll understand how it works, which is really cool. But don't worry, because this is not the only part of the game. You can also play my favorite part of the game, which is the part where you wait, and you sit and wait. That's right, this game has the typical clicker system of not actually needing you to click that much. You can just sort of let the game sit and click itself. You get the auto clickers, and then as soon as that function hits, you basically are just free to just, I don't know, do whatever you want, jerk off, fucking go and do a mile hike. I don't give a shit what you do on your fucking day off, but you can go and do it, because the game does not require you to do anything. So for example, I was just doing some other work, doing some other shit, and I just left the game running for half the time, and boy did we rack up some good old meaty skills. Enough to be able to get us to this next stage where we... why are there so many? This is absolutely horrifying. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. You see, it's in situations like this where you don't have to worry. As you can see, my unparalleled levels of gameplay are allowing me to completely finesse the stage. Look at me go. And if you're good at the video game like me, then you can absolutely parade through these, well, I want to say easy stages, but you know. It was around this time that we managed to get our hands on the good old doggo with absolutely horrible object permanence. And don't worry, I also have terrible object permanence because I can't see 2 meters outside of where I'm supposed to look. Which caused me to die a lot on this stage, but don't worry, it wasn't that tricky. My dumbass thought that it would be a lot easier to try and take out the main doggo in the middle of the stage. This is almost always a terrible strategy to do in this game, so please don't follow me if you want to try and play this game for yourself. Because if you go for the middle one, this game gives you plenty of HP, so you can kind of tank through a lot of the stupid hits. But if you're trying to aim in the middle one obviously has the most HP, especially because this is a fucking mini-boss. Then we fought Patrick Warburton. If Patrick Warburton was a dog, he's just a wholesome boy. I love him. Now this next enemy that we fought is essentially the 4 kings of this run. You'll see dogs pile up along the bottom, and it is merely a matter of time before they start to overwhelm you with their stupid fucking barks. And the only way that you're going to be able to overcome it in time is by clicking through the enemy. But you see, you run the risk, because if you try and click too much quickly, then you're going to set yourself into one specific spot on the stage, meaning that you're going to end up not really getting that much damage off before you start taking lots of damage. And you don't want to take lots of damage yourself, right? So the best thing you can do is sort of slowly mitigate it out by playing. As you can see, this game has a stupidly large roster. And I also noticed that getting the annoying dog, Papyrus, my beloved, was right on the stage, meaning I knew that he was going to be soon. And it was at this point where we finally managed to take on my boy, Papyrus, in the flesh. Or I guess in the balls. Basically, he's the same as usual. He's just depressed. Instead of being, you know, a normal balanced boss where he lets a little bit, some bonios sort of fly across the stage at you, he flings them! He absolutely flings them at a goddamn lightning pace. Most of his attacks are pretty fair and pretty balanced. But there are some attacks that are just gargantuan and a nightmare, and you have no time to be able to react. Which I think is hilarious. That is a very Papyrus thing to do, you know, just a fun little bit of homicide in there, you know. That's the Gasta talking. That's the Gasta talking. We both know it's the Gasta talking. Well, this was an actual bona fide Papyrus fight, which I have been looking for forever in every goddamn game that I've ever played. I do feel like it wasn't quite what I was expecting, or quite really that full-on experience that I want from a Papyrus fight. And it felt like I had some RNG bullshit that I wasn't really down for. I do like the big bonios that he throws at you. And also this. Look at this fucking face. Absolutely beautiful. Overall, I give this fight like a, I don't know, 4 out of 10. Maybe a 6. During your time on the main stage, you can access the fight against the Amalgamates. What are the Amalgamates, you ask? Oh well. You can go and check out this video if you want to know a little bit more about them. But the too long don't read of it is, they're basically just some weird amalgamations that Alfie's made. I find it really funny that a lot of the characters in Undertale are like supposed to be really fun, wholesome characters that everybody loves, right? Everybody goes like, oh, I love Alphys. What a fun, wholesome character. Oh, look, she's so quirky. Look at the funny face. Yeah, that's right. Alphys is fucking experimenting on monsters. Alphys is truly disgusting and does a lot of very fucked up things in the story. It's done for your favorite himbo, Asgore. He's not a nice guy either. You could argue that Undyne and Papyrus are pretty ignorant, especially Papyrus, bless him. He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. But Sans knows everything. Sans is very aware of what's going on. He's not a good boy at all. Man, all these people, they're just fucking monsters, aren't they? Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get cancelled now. So after beating my boy, we fought 3 very handsome rippled men. And then we were on to one of the most harrowing nightmares of my life. What the fuck are these things? What the fuck are they? Get them off my screen, please. And if that wasn't bad enough, having to fight a few of them, we now had to fight them with this giant ass jelly bean tower. And boy, this thing was fun to fight. Just kidding, it wasn't. You'll find that some of the enemies in this game, the way that they balance them is that they tend to increase their rate of fire if you kill all the other things, because then they become the only one enemy and then it becomes kind of redundant a lot of the time. So they get around that by making it fire more. Wow, isn't that so fun? I love it. Look at this thing. It made it so much more tedious. I had to deal with a whole half of its health bar with it rapid firing at me like a goddamn Tommy gun motherfucker. Get off my screen. There's also some black market secret code giving in thing. I assume this is like some Roblox code go on Twitter thing. I don't really understand what it is. And then I googled about it. And apparently the website for the codes was shut down. So I guess we're not getting any help, huh? But I mean, who needs help anyway when you got skills like me? My wrist started to cramp up by this point, but I still persevered onwards because we're goddamn badass and we're having so much fun playing this game. I barely even realized that I was getting carpal tunnel. But what I did realize is that we were looming in on our next big threat. That's right, we had to fight a goddamn titan. It's the Mad Puppet, everyone's favorite. Now I'm not gonna lie, this fight was absolutely hell for me. One of my least favorite experiences in this game, but also one of my favorites because look at him goddamn dance. The animation on this was stupid, really stupid. Because it was the most distracting thing in the entire goddamn game. One of my biggest critiques of this game is that it is just a straight up honest bullet hell. It's very, very similar to the Mario minigame. Edited me, put up one Mario video game. This is very, very similar to, you know the one if you know it. You're a real one if you do. But it's basically just a bullet hell where you move around with your mouse. There's nothing worse than having pure white projectiles on a pure white enemy on the background. Like, they could have, like, faded him out, made him, like, I don't know, tweak down the opacity just slightly on him, just so you can see the projectiles a little better. But nope, they didn't do that at all. Instead, you have to fight him directly on a pure white, so all of the torpedoes that you see that cross the screen and stuff like that, it's just awful, and honestly it wouldn't be that bad if he stood still either. But no, he doesn't stand still. This motherfucker jumps around and jumps around and jumps around. I eventually figured out the best way to deal with this guy is to just deal with the torpedoes as soon as possible, because if you can quickly loop the loop around them, then they lock in different positions. Unfortunately, I wasn't locked in though, because I kept getting hit by these stupid turrets that surround themselves on the screen, because they send them at the goddamn same time, which is really, really annoying. But it was also one of those where you couldn't click on the front of the screen, so you just have to wait it out, which is basically the game's way of saying, get good, and if you don't get good, then, well, you just can't progress. So I felt like I did pretty decently at this, in the end, anyway. And after that, our screen really started to ramp up. Look at him, bogey! I felt like earning him was the ultimate trophy. But we had one more goal to reach in this video. We had to tackle the ultimate pinnacle of the run. We had to kill Tami. Yeah, no, the Tamis were really, really funny. They don't really do very much. Also, you'll see, at this point, I realized that you can actually buy an amalgamate and use the amalgamate. And the whole point in the amalgamate dust collection is so that you would have a little spirit that helps you out. You see, the only real issue with this, though, is that it's shit. The amalgamate is not worth it at all. It gives you barely any ticks towards the actual enemies. You can't use it in the boss stages, so it has basically no purpose because like most of the basic civilian stages are easy as fuck. And it has barely any impact on the actual stage itself beyond your own clicks. So like, what is the point in doing it? Especially when it costs so much dust to actually like upgrade this thing. I don't get the purpose. I really don't get the purpose. But I do like having a cute little bouncy thing on the bottom of my screen, so I guess we'll keep it around. But now that Tami was dealt with, now we had to deal with the real final boss of this run. But for a true titan like this, I felt like we need to leave the amalgamate to do all the work. So the amalgamate was taking its sweet time, so I decided that I'd do a little bit of the work for it and just sort of help it along, hurry it along. After all, this very, very difficult boss takes a bit of kicking ass, and I can kick some ass. It was at this point that we managed to reach 1 billion in terms of points, which shows you how long I had this game on, and it shows you that I too have not touched grass in a very, very long time, unfortunately. But no matter. It was also at this time that I felt like the scaling of the game really started to get a little bit difficult, because we were only getting like plus 8,000 every single time for each thing in the market, but some of the hearts were costing like 2 billion just to get an upgrade, and like every single like upgrade in damage was gated by each boss that we killed, so it felt like we weren't really making massive progression. But no matter, because only one thing stood in the way of me and true glory. I'm not gonna lie, this might be one of my favourite fights in, I don't know, an Undertale fan game, an Undertale game. This was so cool. Initially, I thought it sucked, I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't understand how it worked, and I was like, oh boy, it's just the Undyne fight, except everything is unfair. Undyne the unfairing. But it was actually a hidden masterpiece. You see, what I didn't understand about this fight is that the glory of being in a clicker, with your mouse being the actual point of trajectory, is that you can move, right? You see, the whole point with the Undyne fight is it's a rhythm game. You want to be able to tick the different points on time, and if you're not reaching them on time, then you're failing and you're taking the damage. However, with this one, they had different points that would interject at the same time, and I didn't really understand how I was supposed to deal with that. After all, it can only be positioned in one place at one time. So how would I even go about dealing with that? Until I remembered that I can move. The world is my oyster. I can do whatever I please. And so I decided that if I move around enough, I would be able to position myself. It was really cool, and I really enjoyed it. It was genuinely one of the most fun boss fights when I actually understood it. So I'll just let it play out for a little bit. I'll let you get a little bit of a gist of how it went. It's so fun. It's so freaking fun, and I highly recommend that you go and try it out. Honestly, it's not that difficult to get to this point. So, I mean, if someone like me can do it, you guys can do it too. It's freaking awesome. It's genuinely such a cool Undertale fight, and one that I will remember for a long time moving forwards. It was at the end of the run that I really realized that we had to push, you see, and Undyne had knocked me down, and the previous attacks were just too much to take. Having to deal with two things at once is not my forte. And so as we pushed through to the last quarter of the health, I started to get desperate. My hands got sweaty, my arms sketty, and things got really bad. As we pushed through, we ended up on 1 HP. For 1 HP, that was all I needed. As we finally beat Undyne, we brought a closing chapter to the first half of Clicker-Tale. I would have played through this whole entire game, but it takes a goddamn long time to do it. And if you guys want to see more of this, and more videos in this style, since this is very different and very new for me, then please let me know down in the comments below. I will be reading the comments, and I'll be very excited to see what you think about this. But at least now we can thankfully say we managed to beat Undyne. Oh, come on!